Okay, you all, this is my second live stream today, and I am tired. I am mentally tired from doing a lot of research and um, discovering a lot of things that takes a lot of mental work of like how to purchase XL. And so I'm getting straight into the live stream, right? If you didn't catch this on the live stream, you will catch it on the replay. So a couple of things I decided to live stream about is number one, government shutdown and XRP. Can they actually take your XRP from you? Can it be confiscated like gold was in 1933 Great Depression? Because this is comparable to the Great Depression of 1933, what will happen in 2004. So come on in, hit that like, hit that share button. I want to make sure my 1111 is showing. And I get started with the government shutdown first because it is very quick and to the point. So, government shutdown, will it happen by Saturday? I told you all, I think it will happen in March, but I'm not always right 100% of the time. And so they say if we don't act soon, the government will run out of funding at midnight this Friday. So actually not Saturday, midnight this Friday. The government has, and they did this the last shutdown in 2023, right? It was at the 11th hour, as we talk about the number 11, or I always talk about the 11:11. It happened at the 11th hour. They made a decision that Friday. So same thing can happen here, right? No harm, no foul. But today, voting was paused or seized because of the snow on the U.S. Capitol. So the Senate could not meet today because of inclement weather. And over the weekend, the leadership reached a bipartisan agreement on a extension to March 1st and March 8th, which will prevent a government shutdown. Again, however, the Senate returned to session today, Tuesday, while the House Council is planning votes due to inclement weather following a holiday weekend of snow in Washington. So the Office of Personnel Management issued a closure status for federal offices and schools in the area were also closed, but the Senate plowed ahead and with its plans to begin the process of advancing the so-called continuing resolution that would keep the government funding at current levels through a pair of through early March, which is March 1st, March 2nd. Now, they did make a statement that if they do not act soon, the government will run out of funding at midnight Friday. So the Senate will take the first vote to move forward to clean the passing of the votes before Friday's deadline. If both sides continue to work together or in good faith, it is hopeful that they can wrap up the work. I'm not really worried about this government shutdown anymore because I know that it's inevitable. It will happen. If it doesn't happen in January, it happened in March. The only thing is for the government workers and people that it will affect directly concerning their pay. Now, another thing that I want to sneak in that I don't have in the caption is oil prices have risen. Will this affect the gas of the? I'm tired, you all. Will this affect the price of gas as well? Because of the Red Sea, right? That really sounds biblical. The Red Sea, the splitting of the Red Sea, and so oil prices have shot up in the first 2 weeks of this year as a series of missiles and drone strikes in the Red Sea throw a curveball in the international oil market. Through analysts are skeptical about the rise in oil prices and translate into increased driver's seat at the pump. So that means will your gas prices rise? The West government instrument prices for oil have increased it this year by 2.5%, which is over $72 a barrel, and Brent crude oil has only increased by 1.5%, which is roughly $77 per barrel. And so in November, it was $94 a barrel. So it's still below the November's price. September's price as well. Now we have what's going on, escalating a conflict at the Red Sea, a 1,400-mile long body of water in the Indian Ocean, and that connects to the Mediterranean Sea. I said this was a great thing. If you are a VeChain holder, if you're holding VeChain, because VeChain um, tracks all of the tracking of our supply chain when it comes to food and industry, and it affects the food shipping and exporting or importing of food as well. So this is some bullish news, unfortunately for VeChain, but for people that don't hold VeChain and just holding on to their dollars, this is bearish news. So gas prices in the United States have pretty much remained relatively, I guess if you want to say it's low, it's been remaining about the same. And the crude oil inventories have increased to like $1.3 million a barrel to, I think, over a little bit over 400 barrels in a week, ending in the first week of June, ending in January. You tell I'm tired. January 5th. And so, with that being said, just keep an eye on what's going on at the gas pump. So, let's get right into this. Can the government, can the powers that be actually take your XRP away? I saw this article on X, formerly known as Twitter. So I'm going to share this with you. A taking of XRP from retail holders would require an executive order or environment from President Biden or congressional environment. The SEC does not have that authority, first and foremost. So let me add, it's very unlikely and maybe to possible. Now, in my opinion, it's not very unlikely because what had happened in the past can happen again. And I showed you all the executive order where the government confiscated citizens' gold during 1933. Pull this up. If you wasn't on the live stream I did earlier, I made this post May 1st, 1933. This is January, February. So we might have a month. I'm just saying a month before government shutdowns happen. Again, they might do it this Friday. I mean, it's going to happen, right? It is inevitable. It's this financial system is just, um, it's failed. That's, for lack of better words, it's gone. And so they're going to bring in cryptocurrency. So May 1st, President Roosevelt did exactly what I'm talking about now to American citizens. He signed an executive order, which is 6102, that required or demanded confiscated U.S. citizens gold to deliver on or before May 1st. And gold bullion, gold certificates owned by the Federal Reserve. This is why you have to be careful of having bankers, technology, or in this case, XRP cryptocurrency. Because if it happened in the past, it can happen again. And so the price of gold at that time was $20 and 67 cents per ounce. You know, gold now is over a little over $2,000 an ounce. And let me read the rest of this. It was actually in 1917 they wanted to implement it. They waited years later, March 9th, 1933, the violation of the order of this. It means that if you didn't abide by this executive order, you can have $10,000 fine and or 10 years in prison or both. And the executive order was listed in Section 2B, gold coin and gold certificate, and an amount not exceeding the $100 aggregate, $100 belonging to any one person, Our gold coins are having recognized special value collectors or unusual coin. And this is January 30th, 1934. The Gold Reserve Act of January 30th, 1934 required that all of gold and gold certificate held by the Federal Reserve be surrendered and vested in the sole title of the United States Department of the Treasury. So many people are excited about having XRP because they're saying this is what the government is going to use. This is the what the big banks are going to use, but you have to be careful, right? Because right now, in my opinion, XRP is looking very, very centralized, which is what the bankers' money means is centralized currency. It's not decentralized outside of the banking system like Bitcoin, like Flare, and some of the other cryptos are. So 6 days ago, this was released that Ripple to buy back 285 million of its shares, which making the company more rich, which is what centralized banks do, like bankers more rich and not the people. And it value its company at $11 billion. So I do welcome anyone's opinion or comments on this. Someone left a comment on my earlier live stream that said that centralizing is a great thing because it does not give people control of their own money. It's not their responsibility. Like, why wouldn't you want the responsibility? Some people, and they left the example of, for example, if you held $10,000 cash in your house, it would be your responsibility to protect it from theft. I think that's sad that people would rather have the banks protect their money than themselves. Would rather have the bankers to control their financial future than to put that control in themselves. Right? I think that's sad. In fact, let me pull up this quote to you that if people knew how the banking system worked, it would be a bank run tomorrow. And that's strategic. That's why you're not taught about this, the history of money. This is Henry Ford. You're not taught about this in school. You're not taught about this in church. And honestly, my humble opinion is it's more so of the church's responsibility to teach this than the school system, right? But we know about Dale Carnegie, who funded the school system. That's why we hear Carnegie Hall in our colleges and universities. And then we also hear about Rockefeller and Rothschild. So they made sure or they ensured that this would not be in the school system curriculum. However, money and financial prosperity is in the curriculum of the Bible. And all of this. And so, in my opinion, it most definitely should be taught in churches. Henry Ford on the banking system says, most people do not understand, excuse me, I'm drinking some water. Most people do not understand our banking and monetary system, for if they did, I believe there will be a revolution before tomorrow morning. Centralized banking keeps only a small percentage, right, of the population rich. That's why Henry Ford, Rockefeller, Rothschilds, J.P. Morgan, and Chase, right? This is why they became so rich during the 1900s. Let me give you another quote. All right, I'm going to push through this. One of my favorite ones as well is the Monopoly quote, and it also is connected with the number 11. It is the 11th. Who knew that we have been training people for 90 years to be a central banker? This is what I'm talking about. People are trained to want central banks currency like XRP. So what if the bank runs out of money? Some people think that the bank is bankrupt if it runs out of money. Well, the bank never goes bankrupt. To continue playing, use slips of paper to keep track of each player's banking transactions. Until the bank has enough paper money to operate again, the banker may also issue new money on slips of ordinary paper. Now, your regular commercial, your smaller banks, not your big institution like JP Morgan and Chase and Bank of America, Wells Fargo, they won't ever go back. But your smaller retail bankers, community banks, they will go broke. So if the banks run out of money, like Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, the bank will never go bankrupt. And to continue playing, they use slips of paper to keep track of each player's banking transaction until the bank has enough paper money to operate again. So if a bank really is insolvent and it goes broke, it would just keep track of your banking transaction. Like you won't even know if the bank has your money or not. Some reason I can be tired, but when I hit that go live button, I can let me give you this example. So it just keeps a slip of paper and now digital of your banking transaction, just like in a game of Monopoly, until it has enough money to operate again. So the bank will be broke and you won't even know the bank is broke. The bank will be broke and you won't even know the bank is broke until it has the currency to keep track of your banking transaction again. Okay. Let me show you this video on my TikTok account. He says to get out of banks and
So I
get.
called my bank, and when I called them, I asked for $250,000. Now, for me, $250,000 is not much money. As you guys could understand, $250,000 is not much money. When I called the bank and said, "Hey, I'd like to pick up $250,000 because I need it for my podcast. I want to show a little bit of money," they said to me, "Well, we're probably going to need for anything over $20,000 to make an order, which will take about 3.5 to 4 weeks to arrive. Then we're going to need an armed guard that's going to meet you, walk you to your car, and make sure that you drive away with the money." So then I said, "Look, I need just $250,000, and it's not that much money." And the bank pretty much told me, "Ben, it might not be a lot of money for you, but it's a lot of money." So I told him, "Look, if you get me $250,000 in 4 weeks, it's fine. I'll wait." It took about 5 weeks, and that's why we delayed this podcast, for me to receive $160,000. That's all they were able to scrap. That's a bunch of bullshit. That means that I have money in the bank that doesn't exist. And then I come to find out that only 3 to 5% of the money in the economy is physical money. The rest of it is digital money in all the centralized banks. So going decentralized and into crypto and Bitcoin, that's something that brings the power back to the people, because as we know, in 1929 there was the Great Depression, and it looks like if they keep printing out money and the banks don't have money, anyone who does have money in the bank might just end up not being able to get his money. So I called my bank, and when I called them, I asked for $250,000. Now, for me, $250,000 is not much money. As you guys could understand, $250,000 is not much money. When I called the bank and said, "Hey, I'd like to pick up $250,000 because I need it for my podcast. I want to show a little bit of money," they said to me, "Well, we're probably going to need for anything over $20,000 to make an order, which will take about 3.5 to 4 weeks to arrive. Then we're going to need an armed guard that's going to meet you, walk you to."
So over $20,000. This is for the people to tell you, oh, the banks is FDIC insured that they don't have your money. Up to what is it, FDIC insured? Is it up to $250,000? Don't worry about it. Well, what about the people that don't have you know up to 250K in there? And so For people that think that, hey, XRP, if it's owned by the bank, if it's owned by the Fed, and that's a great thing. No, 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 no. It's really not. Who really owns the Federal Reserve? See, people don't know this. Who really owns the Federal Reserve? I got another video for you because, again, I told you I'm tired, but I'm going to let these videos teach you tonight. All right, let's go. Who really owns the Federal Reserve?
Results of that. The Articles of Confederation granted Congress the control to print money. At one point, the continental currency in 1979 had a monthly inflation rate of 47%. And so in order to stop these mistakes from being repeated, when they wrote the Constitution, which replaced the Articles of Confederation, they took away the power to print money and gave Congress instead only the power to coin money. It was at least in part because of this influence that central banks in the United States were not able to take hold. That is, until the one that was created in 1913. And there's a reason why this one stuck and the last ones did not. But first, a quick word about one gold. Constitution, which replaced the Articles of Confederation, they took away the power to print money and gave Congress instead only.
I want to pause right there. They took away the power to print money and gave Congress instead the power to coin money. This has not been changed. This is why I tell people, some people have worked all of their lives and they never held real money in their hand. Money is not printed. Money is coin. This is God's money. Printed money is government money. This has intrinsic value. This holds its purchasing power, where cash is able to purchase less and less. Now with God's money is always able to purchase the best. $2,000 an ounce for gold, under $40 for silver. This is why I'm telling people to visit my website. Let me put it up here, millionmoves.com, so you can get that silver. I believe in silver because over gold, because it's more affordable. Everyone should be able to afford silver. And in 2011, JP Morgan and Chase hoarded over 350 million ounces of silver, which is 38% of the world's population. If the big banks want silver, then you should ask yourself, shouldn't I be stacking silver as well? Because when this economic reset happens, it's going to be silver and gold that's going to reset this currency system because of this constitutional art right here. This has not been changed. It hasn't been changed since April 2nd, 1972. Congress the power to coin money. And I talked about Philadelphia and the Philadelphia Eagles and the football team and why they lost and, all of that, because this was established in Philadelphia, the act of Congress. Right. Okay, let me read this real quick. Look at me crazy. I've been saying that the United States is a corporation. So you look crazy. Oh, you saying people will look at you crazy if you say that. It is a corporation. United States. But what's that have to do with what I'm talking about, though? I think people look at you crazy because, sometimes people say off topic stuff. I'm talking about coin money. What does that have to do with anything? Now, if I was talking about sovereign citizenship, then we'll be talking about the United States as a corporation. But I'm talking about coin money, but it's paper money. What does United States being a corporation have to do with that? Please make that make sense for me. Now, let me go back. Benjamin Franklin printed money for each colony prior to the Revolution and was able to see firsthand how competing currencies could impede commerce. What they mean is Benjamin Franklin printed money that were gold certificates, it looked like this, in which people could turn in or retrieve this paper certificate for the real gold. It's had gold certificate right on it. Right. And so you You brought this to bankers, you're like, give me the real money to go. Because it was lightweight, it was easy to carry. No, it's no problem. I mean, a lot of times people come on here and talk about people look at them crazy for mentioning stuff, but a lot of times people just mention stuff off topic. Like it has no relevance to the conversation. That's all. That's all I'm saying. And I'm tired, so you're gonna get like the tired me tonight. But let's go.
Only the power to coin money. It was at least in part because of this influence that central banks in the United States were not able to take hold. That is, until the one that was created in 1913. And there's a reason why this one stuck and the last ones did not. But first, a quick word about One Gold, which is today's sponsor, and they are the lowest change for those coins that you want or those bars that you want. You can do so at a time when the central bank in the United States that would stick. Part of this involved calling it the Federal Reserve so that Americans would be tricked into thinking it was part of the federal government. But it wasn't enough to just call it the Federal Reserve. They did have to have the government itself sign up for it so that it would give it some sticking power. They put these ideas in motion and were able to get Congress to pass the Federal Reserve Act, and President Woodrow Wilson signed it in December 1913. However, over the years, things have changed a little bit, and we know that the way something
Case that Woodrow Wilson signed in 1913. I'm telling people Titanic sank in 1912. The people that were against the Federal Reserve just so happened to be on a Titanic, and the Titanic was on its very first voyage, and it was deemed to be a ship that was unsinkable. This is when all the rich and wealthy people were on Titanic, and they wouldn't have not let this go down in 1913. But hey, just mysteriously, the ship ran into the iceberg in 1912, right?
thing starts is not necessarily the way it always stays. And so, what is the structure of the Federal Reserve today? Who owns it? Who controls it? And most importantly, who profits off of it? Let's start with who controls it. The Federal Reserve was created by the Federal Reserve Act, an act of Congress, and it could be undone by an act of Congress as well. Not only that, but it can also be changed by Congress as it has before in order to direct what the Federal Reserve does and how it does it. Case in point, in 1977, Congress gave the Federal Reserve the dual mandate. This is the most important point that we will talk about in this video, that the Federal Reserve exists because of Congress, and its job is directed by Congress, and its existence could be ended by Congress. We'll come back to that in a little bit, because just because an entity is ultimately subject to another entity doesn't mean that that other entity dictates every little thing it does. Congress does not dictate every little thing that the Federal Reserve does, especially its most important day-to-day, month-to-month, year-to-year actions, which is governing monetary policy. Monetary policy includes two main things, which is the Federal Reserve's balance sheet and interest rates. Federal Reserve's balance sheet is a total of all the assets the Fed has purchased with money it has printed out of thin air. These assets are mortgage-backed securities and U.S. Treasuries. Federal Reserve also sets interest rates in order to try and influence interest rates of downstream loans across the economy. Now, given the fact that the Federal Reserve controls the dollar and influences the dollar with its monetary policy, and the dollar is the global reserve currency, you'd think that maybe these people making this decision would be subject to voter accountability. That is not the case. Monetary policy is dictated by the Federal Reserve's Federal Open Market Committee, the FOMC. This committee is made up of 12 members, the 7 members of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System, the President of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, and the 4 of the remaining 11 reserve.
Now, if these people control the dollar, then this is why XRP is up in question to me, whether it's centralized or decentralized, because now with XRPs, they're called validators. Right? It's called validators with XRP. And so if you have these people that control your cash dollars, 12 members that have crashed cash and is lost since 1971 because President Nixon removed it from being converted into gold for other countries. 12 members, just like Jesus' disciples, the 7 members of the Board of Governors, and the following 4 groups of banks: Boston, Philadelphia, Richmond, Cleveland, Chicago, etc., etc. You're not going to be in control, and that's the difference between centralized and decentralized. And Bitcoin doesn't have all these validators. Right now, the government does manipulate the price of Bitcoin, buy the rumor, sell the news. Something good comes out, the government cut interest rate, Bitcoin pumps. If they don't cut interest rate, Bitcoin, collapse, etc., etc. They do control the U.S. pricing of it, but they don't control the value or the governmental inside voting or manipulation like currently XRP does. All right, let's go.
Reserve Bank presidents who rotate every year. So we've got a committee here that are the ones deciding monetary policy for the most powerful currency in existence today. This committee is made up essentially of 2 groups of people. One of them is the Board of Governors, and the other is Reserve Bank presidents. So who are these people and where do they come from? The Board of Governors is appointed by the President of the United States and confirmed by the Senate. Now, these terms for the Board of Governors are 14 years long, and they terminate every couple of years so that they don't coincide with US presidential elections. That way, any one president is not going to be able to stack the deck in his favor, and they're just going to have to replace the ones that come up for reappointment. But the President of the United States and confirmed by the Senate, so Congress, are the ones who choose the Board of Governors. And the Board of Governors make up half of the FOMC, the people who decide monetary policy. But what about the other half of that committee? The Reserve Bank presidents. Who are those people? The Federal Reserve has 12 regional federal banks located in Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Cleveland, Richmond, Atlanta, Chicago, St. Louis, Minneapolis, Kansas City, Dallas, and San Francisco. These district banks oversee all of the banks in their district. The board of directors for these regional banks are elected by the member commercial banks. Okay, so we've that today the Federal Reserve is number 1, the most powerful economic decision maker in the world. Number 2 is not a company. Number 3 is not a
So I rewind this for you. Now we can get to the point about who the Federal Reserve is in the United States. It's not a country, and he said it's Federal Reserve is not a company. It's no more federal than FedEx. But what is it? It's a corporation. And let me tell you all this, since we're on the topic right now. Why aren't you corporated? Like, why aren't you corporated? Why would anybody be doing anything under their Social Security and not a tax ID number? Now, some people that come to my channel, they tell me they listen to Yourself. And if I can find that video, I will play it tonight. Because Yourself has the video that he brings out about being incorporated under a LLC or a C or S corp versus just trying to be a sovereign citizen. I want to see if I can find it as I play the rest of this. Right? He says it himself. High frequency radio. You all tune into him. Versus trying, you should not ever, you should have a trust, and you should never seek to do things under your SSN. Because now that does not make you a corporation. And the only way, right, to match the game of a corporation is to be a corporation yourself. I'm not sure if I can find that video, but we'll see. If I can find it, we'll play it. If not, we're gonna go on with the topic.
federal agency either. And number 4 is not accountable to either shareholders or to voters. It leaves the inner workings of the Federal Reserve shrouded in mystery and suspicion. So let's get to the bottom of this. What is the Federal Reserve and who really owns it? The Federal Reserve is the central bank in the United States, but it actually was not the first central bank. In the United States, we have a long history of some founding fathers being absolutely against any central banks whatsoever, and others pushing for the creation of central banks for their entire lives, leading to a total of 3 central banks in United States history. One of the largest opponents to a central bank in the United States was none other than Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was extremely opposed to central banking. One spurious quote attributed to Thomas Jefferson is that if the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and corporations that will grow up around them will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered.
Now that was a powerful quote. I think it's worth replaying. Thomas Edison. If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, which seems to be where XRP is headed, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and corporations that will grow up and around them will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continents their fathers conquered, which is the United States. I believe that banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies. The issuing power should be taken away from the banks and restored to the people. And this is where Bitcoin comes in. This is where decentralized crypto comes in, to whom it properly belongs. If you are not in decentralized crypto, if all you screaming is XRP army, it seems to be centralized right now, as of today's date, I really, really feel sorry for you. I really do. I'm not selling any of my XRP. Who knows? It could definitely become more decentralized, but as of right now, it's not. It really is not. So I talked about XLN and the Simpsons predicting the XLN crypto and not XRP. On this short video, we're going to look at XLN. So what would happen if XRP is deemed, let's see, is considered, right, centralized? What's the scenario that would happen? Well, a fork in XRP would have to be then the banker's coin. I talked about XLN, right? And then the reversal of XRP, which is XPR. So let me show you all this video on XPR from a young teenagers that found it or that became rich off of Bitcoin, a decentralized currency. And so you can check out my live stream before this earlier on XLN and the Simpsons prediction. But this one, we're going to talk about XPR as well. And Flare. Flare is also connected with the Phoenix. And Flare is also decentralized. I want you all to look at these 3, just in case, worst case scenario, that XPR is the
Eric Finman was 12 years old when he bought $1,000 worth of Bitcoin in the summer of 2011. The world's first digital currency was 2 years old and trading for $10, a time when most folks, if they knew about Bitcoin at all, associated with the dark web or the drug trade. A month before he made the purchase, he'd cut a deal with his parents. If he could turn a $1,000 gift from his grandmother into $1 million, he wouldn't have to attend university. By 2017, he'd won the agreement. What's going on, crypto sports fans? My name is Clay Albright, and welcome back to EOS USA. Today, we're taking a deep dive into Proton Chain. But before we get started, I want to take a quick opportunity to address the many voters in the EOS.io ecosystem that have selected EOS USA as a top block producer. Thank you. Thank you. Your vote matters in the DPoS world, and we appreciate every single one of them. Our experience with you thus far has been simply amazing, and it is our belief that this entire ecosystem is just getting started. The world's youngest Bitcoin millionaire recently announced his next big thing. This article dated August 25th of 2019. The teenager who made millions on Bitcoin is staking it all on this obscure token. He's dumping all of his Bitcoin holdings into Metal, a cryptocurrency that launched an ICO in 2017. Metal, or MTL, is the token behind Metal Pay, a wallet that lets users store multiple coins and exchange them for USD seamlessly. It makes crypto sexy, Finman said, speaking of the application's sleek design. I'm willing to stake it all on Metal, he said. I'm converting all my crypto money into this coin. Metal is a coin that runs on Ethereum chain. Finman added, it won't be for long, but he wouldn't give any more specifics. So what is Metal's mission? I quote, "They say the world revolves around money, but what does money revolve around? We say it revolves around people, that our desires and experiences determine its value. Money is not the means to an end. It's the means to a beginning. We believe in a better world where money works for us and we don't work for money, where we work for beliefs, causes, and people. That's what we do at Metal. Let's change the way the world views money. It's time for a better world. It's time for Metal." Metal has established a reputation of making inroads for the cryptocurrency community, whether that be through speaking to Congress, increasing crypto usability, or lowering barriers to entry. This article from May 18th, 2020. We are thrilled to announce that as of today, Metal and Lynx have officially merged into one team. This is one of the largest mergers in the cryptocurrency industry and a signal of amazing things to come. Additionally, this was a merger that was carried out in the midst of the COVID-19 crisis without missing a stride. A unique example of how flexible and adaptable cryptocurrency companies can be. Metal founder and CEO Marshall Painter was immediately impressed with what the Lynx team had built once he saw how their products worked. Lynx is one of the most established and experienced decentralized application developers in the world, and they have a reputation for creating high-functioning and beautiful products. Have you heard of EOS Lynx? If you're an EOS fan, I would only assume at this point that you've possibly heard of them and tried out their mobile wallet. It's probably one of my favorite go-to places right now because through the EOS...
I told you all I was tired. D, if all you have is XPR, I feel sorry for you. This all you talk about on my live stream is XPR. That's all. You don't talk about XLN. I really would want to know how much XPR do you hold? Because you have to be a whale, because that's all you talk about. You got to be a whale. You don't talk about XLN. You don't talk about XLM. You don't even talk about Lynx here. I hold Lynx as well. Right? I told you I was tired. So let's go. Let's talk about this. Money is not the means to an end. It's the means to a beginning. We believe in a better world where money works for us and we don't work for money. See, You know, the number one rule of investing is don't put all your eggs in one action. Okay, believe in it. But I wouldn't just have XPR, a metal coin. It's so many other cryptos that are ISO 20022 compliant. Do you have ADA? Do you have IOTA? Do you have XPR XLN? The number one rule of investment is never put all your eggs in one basket. That's what you act like that's all you have. Every time you come on this live stream, that's all you talking about at XPR. Let's go.
Value. Money is not the means to an end. It's the means to a beginning. We believe in a better world where money works for us and we don't work for money, where we work for beliefs, causes, and people. That's what we do at Metal. Let's change the way the world views money. It's time for a better world. It's time for Metal. Metal has established a reputation of making inroads for the cryptocurrency community, whether that be through speaking to Congress, increasing crypto usability, or lowering barriers to entry. This article from May 18th, 2020. We are thrilled to announce that as of today, Metal and Lynx have officially merged into one team. This is one of the...
Now, do you have Lynx? Because I do. Do you have Lynx? Since Metal and Lynx have merged into one team, do you have Lynx? Do you have Lynx? Because I don't like people coming on my live screen just pumping one coin. Because we don't know which way. And that's why I tell people about the Federal Reserve and that you don't know which way this is going to go. You don't know if it's going to go left, right, up, down, sideways, straight up. So I do not like people coming on my live stream pumping one particular coin as that's the end all be all, because that's not how it works in crypto.
Largest mergers in the cryptocurrency industry and a signal of amazing things to come. Additionally, this was a merger that was carried out in the midst of the COVID-19 crisis without missing a stride. A unique example of how flexible and adaptable cryptocurrency companies can be. Metal founder and CEO Marshall Painter was immediately impressed with what the Lynx team had built once he saw how their products worked. Lynx is one of the most established and experienced decentralized application developers in the world, and they have a reputation for creating high-functioning and beautiful products.
Okay, let's go back to that. Lynx is the most decentralized, most established in the world. Lynx.
Crisis without missing a stride. A unique example of how flexible and adaptable cryptocurrency companies can be. Metal founder and CEO Marshall Painter was immediately impressed with what the Lynx team had built once he saw how their products worked. Lynx is one of the most established and experienced decentralized application developers in the world, and they have a reputation for creating high-functioning and beautiful products. Have you heard of EOS Lynx? If you're an EOS fan, I would only assume at this point that you've possibly heard of them and tried out their mobile wallet. It's probably one of my favorite go-to places right now because through the EOS Lynx wallet is access to several of the dApps that are currently available on the EOS.io platform. We got a chance to sit down with Fred and Robin from EOS Lynx to talk about some of the new things that they're working on.
We're building this kind of desktop, a desktop app client, right, which is really unique. It's a little bit like the App Store, user-friendly, app discovery. So a lot of it's going to be driven by games, but also we see ticketing as a big use case.
Yeah.
So imagine having a ticket that's, sitting inside your Lynx wallet, right? That you can just send, just like you'd send a token to somebody, you can send a ticket to somebody, It's all sort of inline experience. So we think that there's a better user experience out there, and that's sort of what we're building with this desktop, right?
Lynx.
Okay, I probably should have played that more on Lynx, but definitely Lynx. I'm looking into that as the decentralized is connected with XPR. And I did mention high frequency radio because I know a lot of you all tune in to high frequency radio. Again, even Ecclesiastes chapter 11 in the Bible talks about you don't know, what to invest in. It could go either way. And I may put it up for you. I just wouldn't have all my eggs in one basket. Ecclesiastes talks about 7, yes, 8 streams of investment. Okay, Yusef, for you all that listen to him, and what is a sovereign citizen, and you want to bring up America is a corporation, not a country. Let's see what Yusef has to say on the topic of Federal Reserve money.
I think we go to their website right here, Federal Reserve history. Meeting address right here. They tell you right on the Federal Reserve, website. In November 1910, 6 men, Nelson Aldrich, A. Pitt Andrew, Henry Davison, Arthur Shelton, Frank Verderlip, and Paul Warburg, who was Jewish, who was an agent of the Kunalo Bank in Germany, met at Jekyll Island Club off the coast of Georgia to write a plan to reform the nation's banking system. The meeting and its purpose was closely guarded secret, and participants did not admit that the meeting occurred until the 1930s. But the plan written on Jekyll Island laid a foundation for what would eventually be the Federal Reserve System. Holly, can you do like some research on that and explain to the American people how the Treasury Department is the bank, our bank, the Treasury Department? I want you to go back in history and study greenbacks and everybody who tried to separate from the banking system and what happened to them. And that's go all the way with Andrew Jackson, Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy. I had to name a few people. Every one of them attempted assassination. And you know what? I want you to do this for me too, Holly. I want you to go and investigate Adolf Hitler. And I want you to see the real reason they mad at him, because he got the central bank out of his country. He's one of the other ones. See, they talk about Andrew and Jackson, all them in this country, but what they don't talk about is the person who was actually successful at doing it, and they took the whole world to go against him to out him out of Germany. Go and study that. Go and read Me and Cough and see what he's really mad about. And stop just looking at a video where they be having him on. And you don't know what the fuck he's saying. Yeah, look at that maniac. Oh, yes, he's a... You got to read, man. If you want to hide something from a black man or a white man or a Chinese man or a green man or any man nowadays, put the shit in a book. Still good. Put it in a book, because it's right in a book. How many of y'all have read it? So, Holly, let's read. You know, you can go and read that on your own time, Holly. I want you to read that, though. So, so you can understand, because you say this is a conspiracy theory. You hurt my feelings saying that. It's like, it's a conspiracy theory. Sovereign citizens have a complex, multifaceted network of conspiracy ideals upon which their movement is based. Such beliefs include that once the United States moved away from the backing the U.S. dollar with gold to instead backing it with the full faith and credit of the United federal government, that's a conspiracy theory? Okay. The government began to use its citizenry as collateral. Well, what else they gonna use? Why we gotta pay? Why are we paying taxes? The government has sold citizens future earning capabilities to foreign investors, starting at birth with the issuance of a birth certificate and social security number, and that the government uses the birth certificate to set up a secret corporate trust in the baby's name, creating a corporate shell account with which the baby now must split their rights. These theories argue that the government thus created two citizenships. Sovereign citizenship, the government didn't create a sovereign citizenship. Well, maybe you did. I don't know. You did create that shit. You didn't create sovereignty. But yeah, I guess, you created sovereign citizenship and federal citizenship. Well, there's case law to support that a U.S. citizen is a federal citizenship, Holly. I got videos on my channel showing you that clearly. There's case.
Now, he just brought up taxation. Because usually people that, and I think they explain, and when I say they, people that's fighting for trying to get sovereign citizen, let's be honest, half of the time they just want to, they're in a bad financial situation. Because the stuff that sovereignty or national citizens or whatever go through and how they have to live like paupers and things like that, I don't want any parts of it. That's just me personally. I'm not going through that when I can just incorporate my name to a LLC, a S corp, or a C corp. Right? I'm not going through all that. However, he talked about the taxation of the dollar, so we can talk about now the taxation of crypto. That's the point I'm bringing up. As the IRS has said today, you know what? Anything over $10,000 cryptocurrency reporting for business, we're going to pause it, boy. But eventually, you're going to have to pay taxes on it. And that's the point that I get to, is that most people do not have a taxation plan. Let me say that again for the people. It doesn't matter what X you are representing. It doesn't matter if you represent XDX, XDC, XPR, XRP, XLM, XLN. It's a whole lot of more X's, but I won't get into it. The question is, do you have a lower taxation plan? Do you have a trust plan where you're in the lower tax bracket? That's the question. The question is not so much what is your enter plan, it's what's your exit plan. Are you beginning with the end in mind? Let me see if I can find this one, because most people don't even talk about. I don't know if I can find it, where he's actually going over and Yusef talking about incorporating your SSN. Because this, wanting to become a national citizen, or, I don't know, whatever it's called, it's usually because people are under financial pressure. Financial pressure, and they feel like, even though they have to live like a pauper, which is poverty, feel like if I could just eradicate my debts. I saw something today, and where someone that was claiming sovereign citizenship was arrested, and they were saying, "Oh, I'm not driving, I'm traveling," and they got arrested, put right in jail. Right. So I don't know if I can find it. If I find it, because I am tired, and when I'm tired, I'm just straight to the point. I'm not for. Here we go. I'm not for any food. Well, I won't say foolishness, but for people that to come on my live stream, they don't even research. Most of that research come from the Simpsons prediction, and I give it to you from the Simpsons as well. I give it to you from the Simpsons, but that's not all I give it. I have articles, I read, I do research. I'm just not dependent on the Simpsons to tell me what crypto to buy, because not all of the Simpsons predictions have come to pass or have been on point. So 15 days after the law took effect, the nation's tax agency is hitting the brakes on the digital currency requirement, impacting small businesses, crypto traders, and nonprofits. Yeah, that tax-free money that nonprofits love to get. As you see on the Bitcoin right here, decentralized peer-to-peer. But they're fine, and you see this right here, fine copper, I've been telling you all, and metals, if you want to bring up XPR for metals. I've been telling you all about copper and silver, physical, not just on the blockchain. Why? Because it's outside of the government system. Getting real money, God's money, outside the government system. So the IRS put a temporary victory to the business Tuesday, today, said they don't have to report cryptocurrency transactions of more than 10,000 until the tax agency issues final rules on the matter. This was an unexpected announcement. What's your tax plan? Because you're not getting out of this one. See, that's how they eventually get people. Now, for my people that want to say United States is a corporation, nothing wrong with saying that. But nothing wrong with saying that. You know, it's nothing wrong with saying that. But I just have one question for you. Like, why don't you say this as well? Why don't you say this as well? Hello, G-Man. Because I don't like one-sided conversations. So why don't we?
They want you in anger.
Let's listen in.
They want you angry. They want all of those. They want all these destructive emotions. They want men acting like women and women acting like men. They want women making more money than men, knowing that that's going to cause conflict in the house. It says in the Bible that a man who a woman takes care of is the most miserable of men. This is 6,000 years old. The same shit that's going on now was going on then. Ain't nothing new under the sun.
Let me make this disclaimer. I don't really agree with that because Queen Sheba, she was just as rich as Queen Solomon, and they dwelled well together. Queen Solomon was in love with the Queen of Sheba. Let me get that right. It was not her name, Queen Sheba. She was the Queen of Sheba. Because usually kings and queens know how to cohabitate together. But she decided to go back to her native land. But at any rate, okay, so we agree to disagree on that one, Yusef, but here we go.
It's going to lead you on a spiritual path because you're going to see it. There's some kind of spiritual warfare that's going, making people believe that there's really money. They make you believe there's really money. And they put it right in front of your face. Promissory note. Federal Reserve notes are promissory notes. But they are the audacity, the unmitigated gall that tell you when you present a bill of exchange that's not real or it's a worthless piece of paper. When Federal Reserve notes are worthless pieces of paper. The only thing that gives anything value is if somebody else will accept it. And that's why they had ACR 182, because it's required that the government receive it because we helped you through the bankruptcy. You took all the gold from the people.
Do you think going through the CFPB does anything anyway, like when you file the complaints, or is it like something to do?
You think what now?
Asking, like for my job, I know when we file it. So I'm asking, like, I've heard people say, like, once you, like, when you do administrative process, you be like, oh, file the complaint with the CFPB and the FTC and things of that nature. And I was wondering, does that really do anything? I only asking because I know, like, for my company, when I file a complaint for people that call in, I mean, it really doesn't do anything. They call and check on it, they don't do nothing about it. So is it the same way, or do they take that?
Well, they don't do anything about it because they don't receive enough complaints. I do believe that it is, and as a business owner, I just can't believe that anybody can hope to continue to do business and stay in business and ignore complaints. So I will say that I do believe that, they monitor them. Of course, if there's not enough complaints for them to take some sort of action, I doubt they do anything. But if there's a large enough amount of complaints, believe me, they're going. So the heathen is the dominant class on the planet. And this new generation, they don't have any type of spiritual knowledge whatsoever. They don't have any spiritual knowledge at all. They own these live streams having discussions about male and female.
Like robots.
Well, they having discussions.
That too.
They are, but they're having discussions about male and female relationships when no one. The reason why there's always an argument is because there's no baseline to their argument, meaning that we have to define, there is a universal law that defines what a female is, and there's a universal law that defines what masculinity is. But they want to ignore that and have their own definition of it. They want to have their own definition of things. That's why they fucking with the words. They try to make up their own definitions of things to bring in confusion. But what we have to go back to, see this, the confusion comes in with this word God's law, because God's law and universal law are synonymous terms. God's law is really a bad thing to use because it conjures up images of the mind of a man in the sky. And so they call him a sky bully. Whereas we of the mystical branch understand that God, for lack of a better word, is all knowing, all powerful, and all present. Voluntarily give you my labor anymore. What are you trying to tell me out there in the public? I ain't got no choice.
I'm tired. I might not find this tonight. I had this. I know it's on this live stream, but the point of what I was showing, I want you all to hear, was there was a caller that called in, and the caller asked about the LLCs and the S corp. I want to try one more time. If I can't find it, then I just do it on another live stream. It was a white male.
Having right now, it's a pandemic of
That's
power. It's care of is the most miserable of men. They monitor them, of course.
I can't find it. So
slavery. It's where the slaves. I'm just saying, you'll wake up and you'll start to see it if you stop being biased against it. What it is the guys who came before me, the patriots, if you will.
I can't find on this live stream, but it was a male that called in and asked him about that, and talked about how he did his research and study and due diligence on what rich and wealthy people do, and they form LLCs and corporations and trusts, and yourself was in total agreement with it. That is much faster than trying to be these citizenship things, and it's much more monetary lucrative, and it puts you in a lower tax bracket. So on the next live stream, right, I didn't come at you tonight. Like, really, if I came at you tonight, I would block you. Like, I'm just tired of you just screaming XPR all the time on my live stream. And you can't really go on anyone else's live stream and do that because nobody else even really talk about it like that. And you know that. It's not even that big of a crypto that's even talked about on that level. That's how important it is in the crypto world. Like, the most things you're gonna find on XPR is uploads of video. Nobody's gonna live stream about XPR. My whole point with XPR was talking about Lynx. And when I asked you, did you have it? Because you saw the importance of Lynx and the metal connection, you didn't even answer that question. And Lynx is just much as decentralized and important. And you didn't answer that question. I'm not gonna just have people come on my live streams just talking about one crypto all the time, because people see your comments. So if I have to block you, then that's what's going to happen. Because I'm not going to allow one person to influence the people, the 40-something people on my live stream, because they want to scream one crypto. One crypto. I'm not just talking about XPR. If you look at my caption, it's XLM, XPR, and Flare. You never said anything about the Simpsons predicting the flare. Never. Ever. You never said anything about Lynx. All I said is that if they can confiscate our XPR like they did gold in 1930, then a fork of XPR will have to be used. And that fork could be Flare, which is highly decentralized, and it is already fully ISO 20022. In fact, I didn't even see XPR as being compliant. It's compatible. That's why I'm passionate about that, because I want you to use the right terminology if you're going to make comments. It's not compliant. It's compatible. That's the difference. Flare is already fully compliant, and XRP and XLM is already in the IMF coins, International Monetary Funds. XLN is directly connected with the Simpsons. It's not indirectly, something you got to research for. I showed you on my last live stream that the XPR logo was not the logo on the Simpsons. It was the cosmos. I broke it down to you. So it's not compliant. It's compatible. So when you make comments on my live stream, I want you to be in compliance. The topic is, can the government, Brian, confiscate XPR because it is centralized at this point? It is a centralized crypto, like they confiscated gold in 1933 because it was too centralized. And the Federal Reserve Act was implemented in 1913. And right before then, the Titanic 1912, all the people that would have voted against the central bank's digital banking system were just so happened to go down in the Titanic, except J.P. Morgan, who did not get on there, who was scheduled to, but one day, right before the Titanic was the ship, he changed his mind. And J.P. Morgan is the one that got all of the bankers together during the bank runs, made them sit in a room and said, while he went and played solitaire, and said, we're going to tell the American people that the banks will not be insolvent and that we will lend money to the banks to give them the faith and the full credit of the banking system. And we're going to stay in this room until you all promise to fund $25 million, and all the bankers signed off on it. That's how powerful JP Morgan was. That's why we still have JP Morgan and Chase banking system today. Right? Oh my God. The metal is not, you said it was compliant. Don't change. I highlighted right here. It's not compliant, it's compatible. It's not. Look it up. It's compatible. I did because people are reading your comments. So don't comment unless you want me to block you on my live stream inaccuracies, because there's a big difference between compliance and compatible. A big difference. And when people are investing their time and money into things, I want people to comment that have done their due diligence, not somebody who watched Simpson episode or watched somebody else decode a Simpson episode, which you haven't went on the live stream and decoded yourself. You just watch decoders like Crypto Bull Bear and 888 Crypto Titan and myself, because you would have knew that SPR is not, it's complementary, it's not compatible. It's not compatible. You didn't answer my question about Lynx. You never answered my question if you have IOTA, Algorand, any of those compatible cryptos, ISO 2022, since you are so gung-ho on those coins as well. And Flare is also another oracle. Hey, you all, I'm signing out because I told you all when I got on I was live. Maybe tomorrow we can do the live stream. I find that video on Yusef where he's breaking down high frequency radio about being incorporated. I want you to understand that too for your taxation plan. Okay, here's somebody else that's making something off topic. What does Black Hebrew Israelite have to do anything? How do I attract this to my life? What does that have to do with anything? It's not even in my caption. It's not even on topic. I'm gonna wait for that answer. I don't understand where this type of stuff come from on my live stream, and I'm gonna start addressing it. What does Black Hebrew Israelite have to do with this? I have done live streams on the topic, but I'm not talking about that right now. No, I'm not discrediting XPR. I'm discrediting what you typed in the comments about XPR. That they're complying when they're not. That's what I'm discrediting. What you typed in my comments. What does following God's commandments have to do with this live stream, Brian? What does it have to do with this? See, this is type stuff I talk about. And then you all come on my live stream and say, people are calling me crazy. Because you say stuff that's off topic. What does it have to do with this live stream? I'm talking about XPR or FORK and XPR. I'm talking about FLAIR and XLN. I'm talking about cryptocurrency, Federal Reserve banks. And I'm talking about incorporating yourself to have an exit plan. So you can be in the lower tax. But see, that's the real conversation. Everybody want to go around the world and around the moon. But you don't want to stay stable right here on earth and talk about practical things. You want to talk about things that have no relation until about what we're about to experience in this wealth transfer. Well, thank you, Brian, for being honest. You're just trolling. I don't mind it. But since you want to talk about that, Brian, let's go. Okay. You want to do this? We can do this. Somebody gonna watch this replay. Be like, what in the world? She was just all over the place. We're gonna leave on this note. Brian, because I can roll with it. Honey, I can get the spiritual people, I can get the religious people, I can get the sovereign citizens. We can do that. Brian, we're gonna leave on that note. Follow God's commandments. So here you go, Brian. You look like a person that's into, and I'm not trying to judge you, but you look like a person that's rich, that's in spirituality. So you said to follow God's commandments. Charge them that are rich in this world that they be not high-minded nor trust in uncertain riches, but in the living God who gives us richly all things to enjoy. That they that do good, they will not be rich in good works. That they be rich. Let me make sure I say it right, because I am tired. That they be rich in good works, ready to distribute. This is a commandment. You can't distribute something if you're poor. Willing to communicate, laying up in the store for themselves a good foundation against the time to come. Now this says charge them. Other translation says command them that are rich in this world. And not to trust in uncertain riches, which things, that means stuff you haven't researched. I've researched crypto. I know where this economy is going. But in the living God who give us richly all things, not just spiritual things. That means material things as well to enjoy. That they do good. You can't do good if you're poor. You don't have anything to distribute. That they be rich in good works. That means your works are good and ready to distribute. If you don't have, you can't distribute. You can't do good works if you're poor because you don't have anything to distribute. Now you can say good things. You can uplift people. But it says rich in all things, who give us richly all things, not just things that spiritually uplift people. That means material things as well. Laying up for yourselves a good foundation against the time to come. Are you ready for this financial system reset? That they may lay hold on eternal life or gaining life that is truly life. To do good, to be rich in helping others, to be extravagantly generous. That's a commandment. Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant or to just put your hope in wealth, which is uncertain, but to put your hope in God who richly provides us with everything. Everything that means spiritual and material for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in deeds. See, you can't be rich in deeds if you don't have anything to give, and to be generous and willing to share. That's a commandment. Another commandment, since you want to talk about the commandment of God, is to do business until I return. That's in Luke. Let's go with it. Y'all want to text me, and we can do that. Cause I'm gonna stop all this. Just it's trolls and people coming on here. Luke 19 and 13. Just trolling. Let's troll with it. So before he left, he called together 10 of his servants and divided among them 10 pounds of silver. What I've been telling you about. Does that sound like a commandment? And said, hey, saying, invest this for me while I am gone. Invest. New Living Translation. This translation said, engage in business until I come. Do business until that I have come back. For people that say, I'm waiting on the rapture. And he called the 10 servants and delivered unto him 10 pounds and said unto them, occupy until I come. New King James says to do business for the people that know. In the back pews, they don't know what occupy means. The Bible is so full of investing. Do business with this money until I come back. The New American Standard Bible says, do business with this money for the people that's waiting on the rapture. One of it says silver, since we're talking about God's commandments. That sounds like a command to me. Hey, you all, let me flick the switch. Have a great night. Have a great night. Let's rest. And when I find that video on high frequency radio about incorporating your name and getting out of your SSN, we'll live stream on that tomorrow. Peace. The whole point of this, do you have a plan if the government monetary technology is going to be XPR? Do you have decentralized currency that can do what XPR is doing, but better, but is out of the government's Federal Reserve and banking system? That was the whole point of this video. The rest of the last 20 minutes was just my spiel. Have a great night. Rest well. Queen out.